Welcome to the Motivation Without the Hype podcast with your host, Gez Perez. He's an author, high-performance coach, and motivational speaker. This show brings you inspiring messages and interviews to unleash your greatness in life and in business. So let's get started.
Hi everyone, welcome to Motivation Without the Hype podcast show. My name is Gez Perez, a former procrastinator into an action taker. We bring you inspirational messages and interviews, including motivational insights, tips, principles, and proven strategies that you can take action on without the hype and unleashing your greatness in life and in business. Now, we appreciate you plugging in and spending time with us, and we have a very special guest, and I'm super grateful to have her on our show. Her name is Alicia. She is an internationally recognized business mindset expert who specializes in helping business owners quickly shift their subconscious blocks to creating more money and more success. Alicia has been referred to as the go-to hypnotherapist for entrepreneurs and has helped thousands of clients, guys, take note, thousands of clients and customers for over a decade to break through self-imposed limitations and achieve their personal and professional goals. Alicia, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gez. I love spending time with you. I'm very excited to be here.
Guys, I'm really grateful to have Alicia on the show. Now, if you haven't seen her episode on the podcast show, and please do follow her, I will provide all the show notes there. So, Alicia, tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, you covered it in a nutshell. So I have been helping business owners overcome self-sabotage and multiply their income for over a decade. I've been a serial entrepreneur since I was about 18 years old, and most of those earlier attempts at business did not go particularly well. But as we all know, it is those adversities that usually help us to find our place and discover what it is that we're really passionate about. And for me, it was about personal development, a lot of healing, a lot of mindset work and reconditioning myself, going from someone who struggled with a lot of depression and self-worth and self-confidence issues, an aspiring entrepreneur who just could not seem to get it right, to finally, cleaning all of that stuff up over time. And it's still always an ongoing process, but it is my absolute passion and what I truly love doing.
So in the beginning of time, when you started your entrepreneurship journey around age 18, as you mentioned, what were the challenges in the beginning for you, and how did you find where you are now and really went for it?
So I grew up in your typical dysfunctional home. I actually grew up on a dairy farm, and my parents, workaholics, alcoholics, with a lot of a lot of their own unresolved issues. So I didn't exactly have the type of conditioning to set me up for success. And that's a common scenario. Most people do not have the environment that creates the type of mindset to go out there fearlessly, confidently, do big things, take risks. So when I started my first attempt at business, it was with a multi-level marketing company. And I bumped up against all the typical stuff, fear of rejection and lack of consistency and just a really, really, really poor mindset. Very, very rough around the edges. When I was in my early 20s, I moved from Wisconsin in the United States to California. And I decided, okay, well, I'm going to start this business. And I studied with Frank Kern. A lot of people have heard of him now. He's made, pretty big name for himself. And I started an online storefront. That was back before like Shopify and all of those things. So you actually had to contact, merchants and set up drop shipping and a whole bunch of stuff. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do this. And I was so into shiny object syndrome and just spinning my wheels. I had no idea how to run a business. Absolutely none. Um, and long story short, that business did end in bankruptcy, which was a huge, financial devastation for me at a very early age. And so I kind of backed off a little bit and I dabbled a little bit here or there. And it wasn't until I really started to work on my mindset that I was even able to start to get some traction. So if we fast forward a little bit, I was assaulted, physically and sexually assaulted when I was 25 years old, and it caused post-traumatic stress disorder. That became a turning point for me where I had to do a lot of deep inner healing work. And the experience of going through hypnotherapy and EFT and all these different types of energy modalities and doing all of this inner work and this really, really, deep process of uncovering who am I and all of these old beliefs about myself. I had to just start to drop all of that stuff. And that was such an empowering experience for me that I just wanted to go out. I wanted to help people. And so I started another business, and I had a little EFT practice, and I was so passionate about helping people, but I still didn't have the business acumen. I just didn't know how to create a truly successful business. So a couple years went by, and I'm managing a cell phone store in order to supplement my income, pay the bills, and I got pregnant. And I remember sitting in that store and thinking to myself, there is just no way. There is absolutely no way that I can send this baby off to some stranger to basically raise my child while I'm working at this job that I absolutely hate. And I decided in that moment I had to do it right this time. I had to do business right this time. And so I became superwoman. I was pregnant. I went back to school for psychology. I went to school. I got my master's degree in metaphysical science. I went back to school. I got my certification in hypnotherapy from HMI, which is an accredited college of hypnotherapy here in the United States. And shortly after my son was born, I opened a hypnotherapy practice. And as they say, kind of the rest was history. And I just kept working on my inner game, building my business skills, and never looked back. And I've been, fully self-employed as a real business owner from that point on.
Guys, those who are listening, that is amazing. Like, Alicia, I want to just say thank you for sharing that. I really want to appreciate you just by going through the journey with us, because it takes a lot of resiliency and guts. And I want to just say how courageous you are. And there's no excuses. I mean, you've put the energy and effort and time, despite of everything that's going in your life, despite the situations, you rose to the top and says, you know what? You made that choice and the decision. What was that pivotal point for you to say, you know what? This is enough. I've got so many things on my plate. But you're able to manage your time so effectively despite of everything around you. How did you do that? Because there are people that are listening right now and say, oh my goodness, she is a superwoman. She is a supermom. She's able to put this everything into motion. And regardless of what's happening, she said yes, put in the effort, the time, the learnings, and created your own practice. Can you just share with us just a little bit of how that it was so pivotal for you? Because there are people right now who are kind of experienced, man, I can't even do that. How did you do it?
A lot of people talk about how you have to have a powerful why. And there's so much truth to that. For me, it was, I had to be there for my child. I had to. And so I had to create a business that allowed me to still be a mom to my son. And somehow you find the time. When you have the drive, nothing can stop you. It doesn't mean you don't encounter obstacles. I had plenty of obstacles. I had plenty of setbacks. There were some really lean years in the beginning where financially it was a challenge. And I just had to keep going because I knew that if I walked away from my dream of being an entrepreneur, I would never be okay with that. And I also knew that I had to create a life for my son that was congruent with my values. So growing up on that dairy farm with my parents, I felt neglected. I was an only child. We lived out in the country. They were always either working or at the tavern, and I was so lonely all the time. And I just could not create that type of environment for my son. I had to create a business that allowed me to, go to the office and do my thing, and then be at home and be a mom. And we were able to make it happen, but there were times where, you get overextended and you've got to take a couple steps back and reevaluate. But that's just life. When we jump into something, it gets a little messy sometimes and we figure it out, right? There is no perfect business plan. There is no, perfect path. You just go and you create and you course correct and you pivot as you go, and you have to be all in on yourself. And now I always, I love to tell my clients, or I'll say it on my podcast, when you get to the end of your life, you don't want to look back and feel regrets. No, regardless of whether you believe in reincarnation or not, you only get to be this version of you once. So make it count. I don't want to live with regrets.
So I wanted to ask, how did you overcome that fear? Because there are people who may be at the pivotal point and they're kind of they're just stuck in that decision point, but they're just held back with fear of the unknowns, the uncertainties. And so they're just not taking that step forward and says, you know what, I'll just be content where I am. But they're so dissatisfied and not happy where they are, but they're just held back with fear. How did you overcome that fear? And what is that one tip or one insight you can share to someone who's actually listening to the podcast who says, Alicia, I'm stuck. How do I overcome this right now?
It's a really good question. And the fact is that you're going to have moments throughout your life where you're going to encounter that kind of fork in the road. And one of the techniques that we use in hypnotherapy, I love to use it on just a really practical level. So, we talked about getting to the end of your life and how are you going to feel about the life that you lived? But now if we bring it back to the present moment and we realize that in every moment we really are faced with like two different options. One is we can continue to sort of keep on our same old trajectory, the same old stuff, bleep, that we have been doing. That's creating the lack of fulfillment in our lives. And if you stay on that trajectory, what is your life going to look like in 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? What is that going to feel like? You really have to give yourself an opportunity to have a serious, honest heart-to-heart with yourself. Is that what you want for yourself? That's a lot of years of suffering, a lot of years of disappointment, a lot of years of being out of alignment and incongruent with yourself for this illusion of safety. Let's face it, you're not safe. You don't feel safe. You don't know when you're going to lose your job or the economy is going to shift. There is no real security in that. But now if we look at the other option, which I always like to call your right path, if you start saying yes to yourself and you keep saying yes to yourself and you're willing to keep working through the fears, because fears, you can work through fears. You can. You've done it before, you can do it again. Let's say that you start saying yes to yourself right now, today, and you're taking steps in the right direction towards your dreams. Yeah, it's going to be messy sometimes, but man, what about 6 months from now on that path? 6 months of going for it, saying yes to yourself, taking a chance on yourself. And then 1 year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, with that positive momentum, that positive trajectory, how much different can your life be? And it all starts with a decision, like right now. Are you going to be a victim of your own self-imposed limiting belief that the fear is even a real thing? Or are you going to say, F that, I'm done with this. This isn't working for me. I don't want to go down that old path anymore. That feels like hell. And where am I? Where is that going to take me? Definitely not to the fulfillment. It's not like one day you're going to wake up, doing the same stuff that your inner guidance, your inner being is saying, no, this isn't right. This isn't right. You've got to go the other way. You're not going to wake up one day and just be like, oh, rainbows and butterflies. I feel so happy with the way things are. So every moment that you encounter that fear, you can either allow it to be a barricade to your fulfillment or your success, or you can have that deep, honest heart to heart with yourself and say, am I going to let this stop me from what I could have, who I can be, the fulfillment that I could be experiencing? What kind of role model do you want to be to your children? You want to show them how to live a life of suffering in silence? Or do you want to teach them to say yes to themselves and play a big game and be fulfilled and love your life and make a positive difference? Not just for your family, but for everyone that you come in contact with, because you're being who you really are meant to be.
There's just a lot of notes to be taking on this podcast show. Alicia, there's so many things about how important it is to be congruent with your values, and that hypnotherapy strategy about what would it be like and feel like. And you touched so many important points about overcoming this fear, and this is where we are right now. You've overcome this fear. You've got a lot of successes out of this, and this is where comes to my next question is, why is it important to really break through into this money mindset and really develop a wealth consciousness? Because I know that we've tackled the fear, which is awesome, and being congruent in your values and making the choice and decisions. But in terms of breakthrough through money mindset and developing wealth consciousness, how important is that?
It's huge. So I work with business owners, and I see how all of that old conditioning from society, from parents, from your religious upbringing, all of the mixed up messages. There's so many conflicting points of view on money that are literally we're bombarded with constantly. It's all in our subconscious mind. And when you don't sort that stuff out and you're trying to grow your business, you are constantly bumping up against resistance and obstacles. And what you believe really becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It absolutely does. If you look at your life and your results right now, and you're really honest with yourself, and you'll hear me say that word a lot, honesty, self-honesty is so critical to break through these things. You are living essentially what you expect to be possible for you. Notice, if you're not a multimillionaire, it's because you don't expect that you can be a multimillionaire yet, right? If you don't believe that you can have an abundance of clients or customers or be on the big stage, out there inspiring others. If you don't honestly believe that that is possible for you, you will never take the steps you need to take in order to make it your reality. So those expectations really, really are a self-fulfilling prophecy. And if we want to create more success for ourselves, financially, in our business, with your health, whatever it is, you have to do that honest assessment of what are my beliefs, what are my expectations. And you have to start to break through those things, and you have to start to up level what you believe is possible for you so that you can start to get that type of positive momentum. You know, a lot of times people are talking about the law of attraction and things like that. And I have my master's degree in metaphysical science. I've been studying this stuff since well before The Secret came out. And I know it is a law, but you have to understand it. And you also have to understand that it's not just about what you're focused on. The focus creates within you the inspiration to take action. And action is what really gets that energy moving and flowing.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't see rich people sitting around on their butt all day, right? So
Wow, because there's a lot
but
of perspective around that, because it's great to have mindset. It's great to have that self-belief, but without momentum in taking action, what would be the habits that you need to really take on board? Because people can just say, yep, I'm manifesting. But what's happening? They're just staying where they are. They have this power of self-belief, but there's no movement. What type of habits would you need to take to really level up, as you say? Because as you level up on your mindset, you need to level up on your consistency. What are the habits that you need to take on board to make those things happen?
I love that question. So this is perfect. This is the perfect segue, because I challenge anyone who says that they really believe and they're not taking action. I definitely challenge that, because what happens is that when you really do believe in something, you're going to have impulses, you're going to have inspiration, you're going to feel motivated and inspired to take action. Opportunities that are going to help you to achieve your goal are going to start to present themselves in your life, and you have to take action on those things. So if you're not taking action, be really honest with yourself. Do you honestly believe in yourself? Do you honestly believe and expect that, yes, if I do this, I will be successful? It doesn't matter what it is, if it's in business, if it's investing, if whatever it is. You can sit and, I've got a library of books here, right? Now, most of the lower shelves do not have books on, because I didn't mention, but I also have a daughter and she is 3.
Oh
So
yeah.
perfect height for getting
Yep.
into the lower levels. But you can spend so much time reading books, listening to audios, listening to podcasts, taking courses, and doing all of this stuff and filling your mind with all of this great wisdom and knowledge. But if you're not taking action to implement, do you really believe in yourself? Do you? Do you expect that you can achieve your goal? So that's all that subconscious stuff. So the action piece there, it does involve filling your mind. It does involve learning, always learning and growing, but it also involves action. Your habits need to include the inner game and the outer game. That means doing the inner work and then having systems for consistently implementing. Every day you need to be taking action. Every day you need to be filling your mind with empowering stuff. And every day, and that doesn't mean that it shouldn't feel like work. Because if it's like, does it feel like work to breathe in healthy oxygen? Does it feel like work to, you know, go for a walk and enjoy the beauty of nature around you? It shouldn't. If it does, then that means that there's some stuff in your old conditioning that is not serving you. When you are in your zone, you're going to find that right balance. You're going to know when it's time to rest. You're going to know when it's time to hustle. You're going to feel that flow, and that's going to propel you forward.
Wow, I'm speechless. Guys, if you're listening to this, you really got to rewind everything that Alicia has said. What are the 3 things, Alicia, that we need to implement right now to start seeing progress, to really start to see that shift either in our mindset or whether it's our habits or that subconscious mind. But what are the three things that you can share to us to make that happen? Just three things to making that shift to seeing progress.
If I had to distill it down to 3 takeaways that can be implemented right now, I would say find things that resonate with you to keep working on your inner game. Whether that is books, audiobooks if you don't like to read, training, something to always be working on growth. The other piece is, like I said, implementation. Go out and start taking action, even if it's small. So if you've been wrestling with fears, doubts, insecurities, and old limiting beliefs, start small. Okay? Don't sabotage by setting goals that your mind says you're never going to achieve that. Start with something small that feels good to you, right? Even if you've got to push a little bit outside of your comfort zone, but don't try to push yourself too far. You will self-sabotage and then you'll retreat, and then that becomes that whole cycle of, see, I knew I couldn't do it. See, I knew that wouldn't work for me. Set yourself up to win by setting little goals and achieve them. Check them off, right? Even something like, I woke up this morning and I brushed my teeth. Write it down, check it off. Okay. I mean, if that's something that you are having a hard time doing because maybe you're depressed, whatever it needs to be. If you're ready, like, okay, that I got that one. That's a non-issue. Kick it up. Take it a little bit further, right? Post a few more promotional posts on social media. Start to actually get out of your comfort zone. Start taking some actions consistently. And then the other piece is find a mentor. Find someone who maybe has been in a similar place earlier on in their life, and now they are succeeding in an area that you want to succeed. And if you can't get to be with them one-on-one, read their books, listen to their material, study them. Start to notice those subtle little nuances in the way they think, in the way they talk. There's power in this because the way that the subconscious mind works is when you start to see someone else doing what you want to do, being who you want to be, achieving what you want to achieve, and you're noticing all those subtle little nuances, and you're in their energy and you're in their consciousness, it starts to influence you. It starts to recondition your subconscious mind. And then when you hear them talk about how they were in a situation in their past, maybe they had a similar type of childhood, maybe they had a similar type of fear, and they overcame it. Now you're starting to build this belief within yourself. It's possible for me. And you start to learn, just like a toddler, right? They're watching mom and dad and brother and sister walk around. They're seeing it. They're noticing it. It's building that level of belief within themselves. They're noticing those subtle little nuances. They're being conditioned at the deeper levels of the mind. So now they're willing to get up, and they're willing to stumble, and they're willing to fall, and they're willing to pick themselves back up because they know it's possible. They know it, and they're starting to believe in themselves, and they're seeing the how, and they're absorbing it. So when we can create that type of conditioning environment for ourselves, it helps us to build the belief within ourselves. It helps us to learn those subtle little nuances that are going to really project us to becoming who we aspire to be.
Wow. These are 3 amazing insights, Alicia. Oh man, it's just mind blasting, as we say in Aussies. So now I ask this question to every guest that's on the show. What is your meaning of motivation without the hype, and how do you use motivation for your personal success?
So let's face it, hype doesn't last very long. It's not sustainable. It's not a sustainable model. Now, if you want a quick adrenaline boost, by all means, right? Go get hyped. But if we're talking about sustainability, then you've got to motivate yourself with things that really inspire you. Like, what is it that you really, really, really want? You know, you want a certain quality of life. You want a certain lifestyle, certain amount of money in the bank. You want investments and wealth, and you want to make a difference in people's life through the work that you're doing. You've got to put it all around you. You've got to create an environment that is always reminding you of what it is that you are aspiring to be and do and have in your life. Everywhere in your environment, you should be able to look around and feel inspired.
Love it. I'm really enjoying this session. It's just been amazing, just from start to finish, and where we are right now in this whole segment alone. So thank you so much, Alicia, for adding so much value into this content, as well as to our community. Now, guys, for more information and how you can get in touch with Alicia, look at our show notes. It's got all the provided links. She does have an amazing workshop, and it's happening right now. It's all about money mindset. So please do check it out, and please subscribe to her and follow her as well. She does have her own podcast show, which I've been a guest on, and it's just a wonderful experience, and you're going to learn so much. If you've got so much here in this session alone, let me tell you, go over to her right now, follow her, because she's got so many things to add value into your life as well. So guys, thank you so much. Now, if this episode has been helpful and uplifting, we would love for you to write a review to inspire more listeners to get plugged in. We will continue to provide high value content in each and every episode. Now, if you don't mind sharing this podcast show on social media by inviting others, it would mean the world to me. Every time you tag me, we will get the opportunity to share those posts, and together we can make a difference in the lives of others through inspirational episodes just like this. So there you have it. In closing, continue to unleash your greatness and tell yourself that I can, I will, and I must, and we'll see you on the next episode.